Assessments and audits are the two important processes for any taxpayer under GST, my dear friends. What is an assessment? Assessment is actually a determination of tax liability under this Act, Section 2, subsection 11 of CGST Act, and Cambridge Dictionary says the act of judging or deciding the amount, value, quality, importance of something, or the judgment or decision that is made. We have to take the first definition, that is determination of tax liability under this Act. Now, what are the type of assessments are there in GST? There are 5 type of assessment, section 59 to 64. In section 63 there are 62 and 63. It's a 2 type of assessment. And now let us understand how these assessments happen. The first assessment, that is self-assessment, is done by ourselves. We look at all the records, and based on the records, input, output liability, determining the tax liability and paying the tax and submitting the return at the right time on the prescribed date, and we are fulfilling our obligation of filing the return. This is called self-assessment under GST Act, Section 59. Now, Section 60 talks about provisional assessment. What is this provisional assessment? If we are unable to ascertain, if we are unable to determine the rate of tax, if we are unable to determine the value of goods or services, then we request the department to determine the tax and issue an order so that the assessment happens and we pay the tax and the matter closes. Now, provisional assessment has got a process actually. It is a 9-step process, we can say. ASMT 01 form, that is the first form where we are submitting the request to the department, and then department asks us to give the report. They seek details from us and then we give the details. Then department says you furnish a bond, we furnish the bond, then tax liability arises, we fulfill the tax liability, and at the end release of the bond happens once the process gets over. If at all we have to pay tax, suppose there is a delay in payment of tax, and whatever be the delayed period is there, for that period we have to pay tax at the rate of, interest at the rate of 18% per annum for the delayed period. Suppose we have paid extra tax after the assessment, after 60 days, if we are not getting the refund, then there is a interest provision for us also at the rate of 6%. This is called provisional assessment, my dear friend. We are requesting the department, and department does the process, and it determines the tax and we are paying it, and there ends the matter of provisional assessment. Then comes a scrutiny assessment. What is a scrutiny assessment? We are filing the returns, like for our under section 39 there are GSTR 3, 3B, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 and 10. These are the returns periodically or monthly we are submitting. Based on that, department determines our we are doing our self-assessment. Whereas if at all there is a discrepancy or mismatch, department will do the assessment based on the mismatch or based on our returns filed, and they will ask us to discharge the tax liability if any, pay the tax liability if any, and we have to fulfill that within 30 days after we get the notice. And if at all we don't respond within those 30 days, department has got the provisions under different sections to do audit, inspection, demand and recovery under various provisions, my dear friends. So this is a scrutiny assessment where depending on the returns, so filing the returns is very important, it's very crucial. Properly filing the returns is very crucial. If you are not filing the returns properly, then we are inviting the assessment of scrutiny assessment. Then best judge assessment. Best judge assessment is basically for 2 reasons. One is under section 62, that is for non-filers, and another one is under section 63, amount of assessment under unregistered assessment for unregistered persons. So, what is the first option? What I said, non-submission of monthly return under section 46. If you are not able to, file the returns, then proper officer will send us the notice and we have to respond within 30 days. And if there is a tax liability, we have to fulfill that, and there ends the first process. Second one is unregistered persons or persons whose registration got cancelled under section 29 subsection 2. Proper officer will send the notice. We have to give the explanation. If it is not done, then judgment will get, best judge assessment will happen, and we have to fulfill the requirement, tax liability, registration, whatever. Then there is a limitation period of 5 years in both the cases. Summary assessment. When the proper officer finds that there is a potential risk of default or tax evasion, we can say, then he takes the permission of joint commissioner or additional commissioner and initiate action, and he does the assessment of the business or transaction we did, and he arrives at a tax liability, and we can file within 30 days. If after receiving notice, we can file the reply also, and otherwise, if it is found satisfactory, department will withdraw the proceeding. To sum up, there are 5 types of assessment. That is, first one is self-assessment. It is the returns what we are filing properly at the proper time. And provisional assessment, that is, if you are unsure of the value of supply, that is goods or services, or the rate of tax, then we are requesting the department to do the assessment. That is the second option. And third one is scrutiny assessment. Depending on the returns what we have filed, department finds, if it finds any discrepancies, it does the assessment, recovers the tax from us. That is scrutiny assessment. Best judge assessment is for 2 reasons. One is for non-filers, another is for non-registered persons or unregistered persons, or whose registration got cancelled. For them, department takes action and makes them pay the tax for the business what they have done. Today, there are many businesses who have not taken the registration but does the business completely online, like the scanner they keep, Google Pay, Phone Pay, whatever pay. Then it comes to the knowledge of the department. One example I am just giving. Then this kind of best judge assessment can happen. And the last one is summary assessment, where there is a potential risk of default. Then generally it is on a fast track, usually ex parte cases it happens. So these are all the type of assessment under GST, my dear friends. And if we keep all the documents, and if we fulfill all the requirements, ideally more than documents, is fulfill the requirement, then assessment goes well, and we have to fulfill the tax liability definitely. So these are all the things, and section 65 and 66 talks about audit. After these assessment sections, then 65 and 66 talks about audit and special audit. That's all for the day, my dear friends. Thank you so much.